Chris, how are you? And it's always fun to do podcasts, right? Chris, you're out performing a lot of podcasters by the amount of podcasts you've done since we've been working together, right? Wouldn't you agree, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, at my core, I love meeting people, right?
Yeah,
And
it's the
just so,
best.
yeah, and hearing about stories is really where I started Savant. It's just so many fascinating people just doing great things. So today I had the pleasure of introduce Tim Stewart, who is a uh, coach and trainer and helping out particularly with athletes, helping them achieve their best. But he's going to talk about today mind combat training, which is a specialized form of training that he's curated to really help us perform at our best. So not only will this just apply to maybe an athletic career you may have, especially Neil, you might love this
Oh,
being
I love it.
from the
I have a
WWE.
client that's similar to Tim already that I've had a blast talking about this stuff, and I also am in the process of conversations with one of my former colleagues as a sports agent to do some stuff working with some high school athletes. So this is really an exciting conversation today.
Oh yeah. So thank you so much, and we love to having you on here today, Tim.
Oh, absolutely. And I do need to make one adjustment. It is actually brain training. We're not mindset. We're not, I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people like me. We're actually personal trainers for the brain. We cause the brain to operate uh, faster. We increase the processing speed of the brain. If you think of a computer, right, and the computer starts getting overloaded, you have two choices: get rid of data or upgrade your processor, right? With the brain, you can't get rid of data, it's all there. But we upgrade the processor. We improve the processing speed of the brain by as much as 20 to 25% in as little as 20 to 30 minutes.
See, I
So this
love
is a
that,
long
and
over
I agree,
software
and
upgrade.
I agree, and I'm gonna let you, Chris, to jump in. I'm just gonna tell you, I did biofeedback before, and I've done some specific brain stuff in Texas, especially as a former professional wrestler. I needed to look at my brain and see how it works and different things. So it's gonna be very interesting to see learn your method today. But go ahead, Chris, for your first question.
Yeah, I mean it's an incredible when I first heard about it. One of my good friends, Ben, introduced me to Tim and what he was doing, and told me about the experience and how much it made him focus on a singular task and really make sure that he was performing it well. For those who aren't aware of what this is, could you give us a little background, right, in how you even got started?
Well, absolutely. John Kennedy is the founder of the program. He was a process engineer. The United States Marine Corps in 2007 was trying to solve a problem. The problem was one of intuition and anticipation. One Marine would walk into an area and sense something was wrong and go around it. The next Marine would walk in and get blown up. They had a symposium of great thinkers at 29 Palms Marine Base: neuroscientists, neurologists, psychologists, psychiatrists. John's brother happened to be on the committee and asked John to come out and observe and kind of translate what all these smart people were saying so the Marines could understand it. When they got done, John said, I don't understand a thing they're saying, but I'd like to look at the brain as if it's a mechanical process. And he came up with this program that today we call combat brain training. Now, all the
You know,
smart people looked at it and said, now this isn't going to work. And he said, well, I think it will. Would you embed me with a platoon of Marines, and preferably the worst performing platoon of Marines, and let's see how it turns out? They did. And within 3 months, there were two platoons of Marines involved in the study. Both Marines platoons getting the same Marine training, but one platoon getting the brain training along with it. The platoon getting the brain training at the end of 3 months was not only the best performing Marine platoon in the battalion, the brigade, on 29 Palms, it was getting national recognition as one of the best platoons in the Marine Corps. They took a
Wow.
better look at it, and following that, John started training Marine Corps pilots, scout snipers, leadership, over 120 Department of Defense assignments. But in 2011, it was cut from the Marine Corps, or from the budget. All right, just slash. Some general came in and said, that's a sheet of arrows on a piece of paper. How's that going to make a difference? and got rid of it. So coming out of the military, he had to find clients, top performing athletes, military, brains very similar, the need to make rapid decisions in stressful environments and carry them out with confidence. Yes. So I brought it out as peak performance athletic brain training. And very successful, but unfortunately partnered with the wrong person in the beginning and wound up in a 3-year court battle over his intellectual property. So the business getting launched was kind of it'd do good, it'd go down, it'd do good, it'd go down. Over the last few years, I also have a radio show. We actually own an internet radio program called 21.6 Net, but we originally were on FM radio. And out of Harvard, Illinois. And John was a guest on our radio show, and he brought in combat brain training. Now, I'm a 21-year military vet. I'm a retired infantry officer. So when I heard the term combat brain training, it made sense to me, right? And it wasn't about learning to kill people and stab and shoot. It was about the ability to make decisions when the bullets are flying under stress. I connected with it, but we had another guest coming on. And just like me, you'll probably forget me in a half hour because you got another guest coming on. And I kind of did that. 2 years later.
So can I stop for a second? I have more than a number of guests coming on today. I probably have 7, 8 podcasts today. So yeah.
Well, you will remember whatever things I'm about to tell you.
Oh yeah.
In 2020, as the pandemic was coming in, I was the head soccer coach at Wilmot High School. I couldn't be on the field with my girls, so I got them all to put Zoom on their phones and took their phones out in their backyard. And I'm coaching soccer through 30 little windows on Zoom. And it was challenging, but we were able to, keep the kids connected. But once a week, I'd try to bring in a speaker. I've been connected with the Zig Ziglar organization for a very long time, and I got a lot of good speakers in my hip pocket. But I remember John, he talked about not just peak performance athletic training, but traumatic brain injury recovery, PTSD recovery. And I thought this would be great for the kids. So we came in, we went through the training, we loved it. But by the end of May, they let me get back on the soccer field, and I put the exercises back in my briefcase. I've been coaching soccer for 40 years, and I went back to what I knew. In 2022, another 2 years later, I'm coming home from a retreat at our church, and this guy, Brian, gets in the car. And Brian says, Tim, I have to apologize to you. And I said, for what? He said, I've had 6 brain surgeries, and I have short-term memory loss. He said, I will repeat myself during this trip. I said, you already said that. He looked at me like, who are you?
Oh, my goodness.
And I said, tell me more. Well, he has hydroencephalitis, and he has to have shunts replaced in his brain every so many years to release the fluid pressure buildup on his brain. And during one of those surgeries, he suffered a stroke, and the result was short-term memory loss. I called John, and I said, John, would these exercises help? He said, absolutely, I think they would. So he sent me the sheet of arrows and the exercises. And in 3 sessions, 1 hour a week, over 3 weeks, Brian recovered more of his short-term memory than 5 years of medical therapy.
Wow.
And at this point, I said, I need to know more. I was a life and business coach at that time. And I called John up. And I said, how much does it cost to be certified to do this training? And he put a number out that was way too much. Well, I'm a farm boy, and we barter. We barter the heck out of everything, right? And if I need to mow this guy's lawn for the next 7 years, I'm going to get certified to do this training. We had to set an appointment for the next Tuesday. But on Sunday, I got a text from him that said, this is going to sound strange, but are you vaccinated? And I said, yes. I work with high school kids. I have to be. He goes, good. I have a speaking engagement in Toronto, and Canada won't let me cross the border. Will you take the speaking engagement? I said, well, yeah, but you're going to have to certify me. I can't go up on just the little bit I knew to work with Brian. Well, I felt kind of like Tom Sawyer at that point because he certified me for free and I got paid for the speaking engagement.
Double whammy.
During that speaking engagement, I watched the people. I had 37 women in this group. They were all executive assistants to CEOs, COOs in the Canadian Defense Ministry. And I watched their brains change right in front of me. And I'm like in shock. Now, I went through the training myself, but when you're going through it is different than when you're training others. And I called John. They sent him pictures and videos. I said, do you believe this? He goes, yeah, I've been doing this since 2007, Tim. I believe this. Well, when I got home, I sat down with him. I said, John, how many people do you have certified to do this training? And he said, counting you and me? Yeah, he said 2.
Yeah.
And at that point, that's when I found out about the intellectual property issues and some of the other things. And I said, "Are you familiar with the train the trainer concept?" He goes, well, not really. I said, in the military, we have to train the trainer. A trainer trains a trainer to train other trainers who eventually train the people. And it creates this pyramid of training. Now, if we set this up like this, and then we could collect a residual income off of each one of those trainers out there training, we can create a company that will have a massive difference in the world and, create this income stream. He says, that's great. Show me. So I started designing it as August, September of 2022. We're getting ready to launch on January 1st of 2023 when I went in for an eye appointment. And the eye doctor said, I'd like to have a ultrasound of your carotid arteries from something I saw in your eye. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
what? Turns out my right carotid was 87% blocked. They said, we better look at your heart. Now,
Wow.
I've never had a symptom, but I had 4 blocked arteries, 100%, one in the high 90s, one in the high 80s, and I wound up with a quadruple bypass. I had to shut everything down. I shut down my coaching practice. I shut down the trainer program, and I'm just worried about surviving. In January, had the carotid surgery on January 6th. The next week was supposed to be the bypass, but this got infected. I wound up having to have PICC lines and IV antibiotics, and I mean, the survival was a question at that time. Obviously, I made it through, and
God
in June
bless.
in June
Absolutely.
of 2024, we started rebuilding the trainer program, and since then things have been going absolutely incredible. Recently, I trained the Warren Township High School volleyball girls. They took them through 5 sessions. Went back in October pre-playoffs to take them through one more session and find out how their season was. It turned out they won the conference for the first time in 27 years. John just finished training a basketball team, Bishop Gorman High School in Las Vegas, Nevada, and he just sent me the pictures of the state championship. Trevor Harris is a quarterback up in the Canadian Football League.
Mm.
Uh, After starting our training, his statistics, he is now higher rating in all areas than Tom Brady. Uh,
Wow.
Wait a minute.
Okay. So
it's
and then I'm going to just stop you because you have
no
so
idea.
many different amazing things that have happened to athletes. How do you have time even to come on the show if you're helping so many people?
Well, I leave here in a few minutes. Right now, I'm training 400 athletes with Sky High Volleyball. If you're familiar with Sky High, they're in Libertyville, Barrington, and Crystal Lake, and they're in the number one in the power rankings in their area right now. But more importantly, and I love athletes. I've coached over 5,000 of them. I've coached over 47 years. But more importantly, I'm working with a lady with sundowners, which is the precursor to dementia. In over 6 weeks, her brain has started working again and kicking back in.
Oh,
We're working with a
wow.
lady with MS who hasn't walked in 7 years, who after 4 months of our training took the first 7 steps that she's taken in a number of years,
What?
giving a
Whoa.
better quality of life to Parkinson's disease. The neurology involved in here, if the brain is involved, we can make it a little bit better. Now, we're not going to, the Parkinson's isn't going away, MS isn't going to go away,
Right.
but this is applied neuroplasticity. We're actually rewiring the brain to make it go faster. Last night, I was working with 9 and 10-year-old volleyball players at the Sky High program. This is my 4th session with them. And I always ask them, what have you noticed any different? And quite often the athletes will say, well, nothing. Well, and they're being honest because their brain has entered a new normal.
Yeah.
And this is their new expectations of how they should be performing. But last night, these little girls were, my handwriting's better. I'm better in math class. I'm getting in less trouble in school. I don't feel fidgety anymore. I had a sophomore girl from Warren Township High School after the 4th session come to me and said she had been diagnosed with severe anxiety in 8th grade and had been medicated and seeing regular counselors. By the end of the season, doing the brain training all throughout the season, she was off her medication. And the counselors are like, this kid has returned to normal. So what we have going here, yes, peak performance athletes, and I want to help athletes achieve as high as they can. But the damaged brain, we rewire. The normal brain, we
Yes.
refocus. Uh,
Love it.
So,
um,
so if
well,
you
the
think
re-
Chris,
about,
Chris, Chris. Now, see,
go
this
go ahead.
is the thing. everything. I'm so intrigued to know more about what Tim does and how he could see so many different people. So I'm going to go to Chris because we use AI as our brains. I do. At least I'll admit, what's helped me is basically have a second brain now, which is AI. This is what Neil Patel and Eric Sue says this, and I just took his quote. Sorry, Eric. Chris, what do you think about this? This is huge for so many vertical markets, isn't it, Chris?
Yeah, no, this this applies not just to, athletes, right? I mean, practically every part of human existence sort of requires performance in some area, and even if it's not work or life, maybe it's personal or in a creative sense. I absolutely loving everything you're saying here, and it seems like something I needed years ago.
We all
100%.
do.
I mean, as being a former professional wrestler and taking a lot of chair shots to the head, I could definitely utilize this. But here's my question. Your success rate is unbelievable. Okay, Tim. And you learned it from somebody else, right? What why are you on this podcast if it seems like you're so busy? What is your ultimate goal for your business?
We need to get the word out.
Okay, and that's
I
why
mean,
you are with the
that's the
media
bottom
giant
line.
and Chris Richards right now, because that's the bottom line. Is get the word out. It's the hardest thing because till you get people to tell their story. One of my clients, that's an amazing guy, Dr. Charles Simkovich. We got the word out through tons of reels and shorts. He helps people reverse CTE and stuff through his methods, and it's a different type of methods, but it's more with people with CTE and and certain things compared to some of the other things you're doing. Two amazing things. It's a cure for cancer in so many ways because there's so many people today suffering. They're suffering, saying, what the heck am I going to do? I'm in pain because of my brain. People understand the brain is wired for everything in our bodies. Without our brain, we are nothing. We die. Tim, right? If we don't have a
Exactly.
brain, we die. We're dead. Brain has to do with our all of our health. If we don't have brain health, we have nothing. It's really true.
Several years ago, they started discovering neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to
Yep,
change itself.
I'm
And
familiar with
right,
neuroplasticity.
and
Yeah,
and they talk about the mind mapping or brain mapping and knowing
I
what
did
part of
all
the
these
brain
different
does what.
things in Dallas, Texas, at a place
Right,
to help me with
but
focus and stuff. Yeah.
what they have found out is that any part of the brain can do what every part of the brain can do, and that's where the rewiring or the neuroplasticity comes in. Working with a stroke victim whose left side of his body wasn't working. One of the things that sets us apart is we take not just the brain work, but we also have them tapping while they're doing it. And when I'm working with athletes, they see a blue arrow, they have to take a shot, or they have to make a pass, or they have to go into defense. But we're creating automatic systems for the things that their body should be doing during the sport, so it frees their brain up to actually make the decisions they need to make. Uh, I'm working with a young man who was a good soccer player coming into his junior year. He's a really good soccer player, but they asked him to kick for the football team at the same time. So he did okay his junior year. Okay, six man on the basketball team, and he ran track. He did all the sports. We started the training during his junior year. His senior year, he set the school record for the most goals ever scored by a soccer player, kicked a 65-yard field goal and an 82-yard punt in the same season, broke the school record for steals in basketball, and ran a 158-800 at state track meet while graduating as summa cum laude athletically, and just
Wow.
finished his
Wow.
first season at the University of Wisconsin Whitewater soccer team. Was
You see, I have to stop Tim. Tim is probably uses the brain training himself because he's rolling. And
oh,
this is a
no
Yes,
question.
yes.
podcast. I got to stop you and I got to pull you back. Chris, I want you to ask the last question. I know all our listeners and viewers out there, especially that are streaming right now live and are going to check it out, the podcast, and going to listen to it on my nationally syndicated radio show, are going to want to contact Tim. But Chris, I know you have that final key point to close with our listeners?
Yeah, I mean, it just sounds so incredible. So I wanted to figure if you could leave a little bit something with our audience, maybe without necessarily spilling the whole secret sauce, but what's maybe like a simple daily activity or something that we could all be doing really to start us getting in that process of that mind combat training.
Everything we do is based
training.
off this sheet of arrows. But the secret sauce during John's discovery of this, MIT was coming out of research saying that rapid stimulation or robust stimulation causes the brain to change immediately. So by using a defined process with robust stimulation in an agile environment, constantly changing things, we came across what's happening with this. There's a lot of things you can do to make yourself a little bit better. I mean, you can read, you can do crossword puzzles. But with this, we're the only ones in the world doing this. You haven't heard or seen anything like this ever before. And if you want to know more, you just got to go to combatbraintraining.com, fill out the contact sheet. We'll reach out to you and we'll take you through it. But as far as something that you can do, just clean your brain, meditate, slow down, focus on gratitude, not on the fears. You spoke of AI, and I heard I was at a speaker, Dr. Johnny Parker, and you want a great podcast guest sometime, Dr. Johnny Parker.
Send him our way. Okay.
Yeah. But he said something that really made sense to me. He said, when I become a better me, then we become a better we. And that has become one of my focuses for the kids. So using AI, I'll close with this for you today. I put this together. When I wake with purpose clear and true and greet the dawn with a brighter view, when fear no longer holds my hand and I have the strength to take a stand, when kindness flows from heart to speech and patient guides the truths I teach, when I can listen and really hear and offer love instead of fear, when mistakes are lessons and not my chains and growth is worth the growing pains, when I forgive and let anger go and let my inner wisdom show, when I embrace both loss and gain and find the joy inside the rain, when I stand tall in who I am, yet humbly serve my fellow man, when I choose courage over pride and lift another to my side, when I become a better me, then we become a better we. And that's the whole focus here. If I can help you become a little bit better, then your life's going to be a little bit better. Your marriage is going to be a little bit better. Your relationship with your teenager is going to be a little bit better. And if I can make it a little bit better in the home, then it's going to get a little bit better in the neighborhood. And if it gets a little bit better in the neighborhood, it's going to get a little bit better in the community. And if it gets a little bit better there,
I love it.
A better world.
Just
I love it, Tim. And Tim, okay, so Tim, best place people can go right now.
Combatbraintraining.com.
And you're not the creator of this, but are you one of the coaches, or is this the guy who created this?
Explain that real quick. I'm the director of training. He's accepted me as his partner, so we're partners in this. Awesome. He made it, and I'm out here making it happen.
All right. That was a special simulcast, the Neil Haley Show.